Here's another fact, basic stuff. God exists. Simple. We can know that. Even in our relentlessly secular political order, 81% of Americans believe in God. And you know, that is actually the lowest number ever recorded. Historically, the number is north of 95%. And still, that means that the overwhelming majority of Americans believe in God. And that is because the existence of God can be known with certainty from human reason. But these days, you would not know that, judging by our public institutions. In recent decades, uniparty elites have offered us two options when it comes to religion. Keep it private, or don't keep your religion at all. In public, federal agents spy on our churches. They sue members of religious orders. They imprison parents for praying peaceably outside of abortion mills. Maybe, just maybe, we're permitted to entertain religious thoughts silently in our own minds. But the moment that we start talking about or acting on those ideas in public, we're in trouble. But religion is not just some private privilege. Religion is a public right. Our very country is predicated on the idea that God exists and that we are made in His image. God is in the Declaration of Independence. He's in our national anthem. He's even on our money. The fact that in recent decades, our political class has largely removed God from public life is an aberration and a national scandal, and it needs to be reversed. Now, of course, it's not really possible to remove religion from politics because lawmaking entails moral judgments, whether we're talking about abortion or whether we're talking about parking tickets. Politics requires us to come to certain conclusions about human nature, about justice and mercy, sin and grace. Politics always and everywhere involves rituals and veneration, reward and punishment. These things are inescapable. So when the ideologues remove traditional and true religion from our politics, they can only replace it with their own novel and false religions. They replace Christmas displays with pride parades, sturdy virtues with modern values, faith, hope, and charity with diversity, equity, and inclusion. They ban the Bible from schools, and then they assign gender queer. That is to say, they remove the most important book ever written, the book without which it is not possible to be an educated person, and they replace it with their own neo-Gnostic nonsense. Is it any wonder that our rulers got so stupid? You saw the consequences of taking the Bible out of schools a couple weeks ago when our vice president invoked a basic Christian concept, and our political establishment started alternately drooling and shrieking. When he was asked about mass migration, J.D. Vance brought up the order of charity, which is the idea that we owe more to the people closer to us than to people who are further away. This is an observation, it's so obvious. It's articulated in Scripture, it's written about by the great Christian thinkers, but it's also just common sense. It does not take a PhD in philosophy or theology to know that we owe more to our kids than we do to face-tattooed Mexican gangsters. Now, of course, this means that our political leaders owe more to American citizens than they do to foreigners. That's the point J.D. was making. That is the meaning of the phrase America First. It's not that we don't wish to help people around the world. We certainly do. We're the most charitable nation in history. But it is perverse for our political elite constantly to prioritize the whims and desires of foreigners over the needs of citizens. A nation without a proper concern for its own well-being can never, in the long run, be good to anyone else anyway. This is why when we're on the airplane, they say, put your own mask on before you help others. You need to have things in order. For decades, our uniparty elite have told us we have two options when it comes to charity and the common good. We can either erase our national borders, or we can try and fail to build democracies in the Middle East. Or we could do both, I guess. Those were our options. But you know, there's a third option, and it happens to be the option that most Americans want. We can rebuild our own country. We can help our own citizens. Charity, after all, begins at home. We do not have to accept the false dichotomies offered to us by a corrupt political establishment. We can form new coalitions. We can elect new leaders. We can have our country back, and we can even make it great again. Thank you very much.